Joining us now is a veteran of the NBA, a guy who has stepped up on the road trip and will continue to be put in those situations. Earl Watson. Earl, thanks for the time. We appreciate you coming on with us.
Thanks for having me.
You know, Coach has said all season, and he's told us at times, you know, be it somebody who maybe looks like they're going to get banged up or the threat of an injury, he's said over and over again, I got no problem. I'll go right to Earl and pop him in the ball game. I know there was a game at Oklahoma City earlier where I think Mo picked up quick fouls and you were popped in the game and hadn't played a lot lately. How do you keep yourself ready? Is that just experience?
It's hard because we're so far into the season, I think like 50 games in, 51 games in, and the flow of the game is different from practice and, you know, working on your individual skill. So the flow is kind of difficult to pick up, but you try to insert yourself defensively and offensively is the hardest, you know, to pick up the flow of the game and the pace of the game and how the game is played and just filling the game out. But mentally, you can always prepare. Just mentally, you have to always be in tune, and you have to find creative ways to challenge yourself to get better without playing. And watching the game is one of the easiest ways to get better, but it's also one of the most challenging because you have to actually be focused and pay attention to everything.
You know, anytime anybody describes Earl Watson, they say he's a competitor, he competes, he plays hard. Mentally, you always, when you got in there against the Blazers, like I can remember back, you got into whomever was playing point guard for the Blazers, you got after him. And
he was an irritant, disruptor.
A disruptor and everything. But mentally, how do you accept your role now as you get older? Was it difficult to accept a role of being the insurance guy to come in when someone was hurt?
This is truly like the first year. Last year I was coming off a knee injury, ended up having sports hernia. And so for this year, you know, talking to Coach is a great communicator. Communication is one of the easiest things for me to be able to accept anything. If you communicate, I can excel in any role that you give me, but I need to know what that role is. And the NBA is such a business sometimes that communication isn't handed over to certain players or to players at all. And I feel like if you're a true professional and you really care about winning, you embrace whatever role is given to you and you make it the best that it is. So if you play 10 minutes, it's the hardest 10 minutes you ever played in your life. If you're in my situation where you're kind of like the insurance third point guard and you're in your later years in the NBA or you're trying to work early in your career to break, you know, rotation, you have to work out as hard as you can, and your practices have to be your games. And you have to go into there mentally thinking today is my game day at practice, and I'm going to practice like it's a game, like it's the last game of the season and we have to win. So you find a way to challenge yourself, and communication, which is great at it. Like I said, he's a communicator, he's a teacher. So for me, that relationship was easy, and the role was easy for me to accept and embrace and try to do the best that I can to get all of my teammates ready for games. But most importantly, teach the young guys how to be professionals and how to work as hard as you can in order to have a chance to get into the rotation, because you never know what can happen in this league.
Yeah, that's for sure. Now, with that said, for a veteran player that knows different situations, the Detroit situation, they have Will Bynum. He gets into Coach Cheeks a couple games ago. They had a confrontation on the sidelines, and they've got Josh Smith and Brandon Jennings, Drummond. They have a lot of guys that have different ideas on how the game would be played. If you were on that team, what could you do to help a coach with those guys? Is there any way with all those different personalities you could help a team like Detroit?
I don't know. You know, I've never played for Coach Cheeks. I've never had him as an assistant or a head coach. And a lot of those guys, I really don't know their personalities. But I think more than anything on any team, you have to come into training camp and you have to establish one purpose. And that one purpose and one goal is to win every game. It's to win every possession and win every day in practice and get better. And I'm not sure what Detroit does. I mean, it's a tough situation. I always thought Mo Cheeks was a good coach, and the way he played, I've always been a fan of him since I was a kid. So I'm not sure what goes on in there. But Chauncey Billups, to me, is one of the best advocates of the NBA as far as helping younger guys. So with him being on that team, I'm sure he did the best he could to try to, you know, get the team to bond and continue to move forward.
So from one chemistry situation to another, Earl, Portland now, how good has it been? And we've described it as great because the guys, and led by LaMarcus, who's been here a while, has said it's the best he's seen it here as far as and maybe you said it when you started the interview, communication. And you have a coach that communicates well, and he has a good relationship with the GM, who has a good relationship with the owner, brings in guys who complement each other. How good is it in your time in the NBA, and you've been around a lot of places, is the locker room here in Portland this year?
I think locker room is great, and I don't think anyone can ever say they expect us to be in this position. And it's an amazing accomplishment, I think, when people debate, are we as good as Indiana or OKC or San Antonio or Miami? We never came into the season asking to be compared with those teams. I don't think anyone thought this year at all. So for us to be in that situation where whether people agree or not agree, I think we're headed in the right direction with a sense of urgency and swiftly. And as far as the players, it's a mature young group. And like any team, no team is perfect. Like any family, you're going to have moments where we're around each other so much that things are going to, be challenging, going to be obstacles. But we find a way to get through everything as a unit. And at the same time, we believe we are good enough. I think you saw that at Indiana. Mm-hmm. And we feel like we should have won that game. We was actually heartbroken after that game. Most teams are going in there and lose like that, and they use it as motivation after that game. We was just almost like we could feel the pain, and that's a sign of a really good team.
Do you follow, like Memphis, they lose a point guard for a few games. Denver loses Lawson. Do you follow the playoffs? I mean, the records of different teams and who might make the playoffs and who are you a student of the standings and watch it carefully?
I kind of pay attention to it, but I learned from Coach Wooden. This is an amazing thing from Coach Wooden. He never really scouted other teams. And his whole thing, he always told me that he's focused on what his team does well and try to make them do it great. He always, try to get his teams from, kind of guessing to believing. And he always, found creative ways for his team to believe they are the best team, or they do everything the best, or they work the hardest, so they're the best prepared. So I kind of just took that and just focused on our team, because I feel like when you focus on, the standings or win streaks, losing streaks, or who you might play in the playoffs, you kind of lose sight on the little details of your own team and how you get better. So I just try to, be that guy for the team and be that locker room guy. When I get a chance to play, just do the best I can.
Earl, last thing, we watch during timeouts, and most of the time when you're not in the game or not in the rotation, you're with assistant coaches. And we've seen a lot of times late in games, when the coaches are huddling before they go to the team, you're out there in that huddle. So you obviously have some aspirations that way. How has it been with this staff? And we talk about communication again. Are they receptive to what you have to say? Do they ask you for input? When you walk out there, are you just kind of showing or trying to tell them what you're seeing in the game? And, of course, we've seen you spend time with the young guys on the team, too. Is that a role you're enjoying enough to want to be a head coach or be a coach, period?
This is my 13th year in the NBA, and I've seen a lot of staffs, and I've been around a lot of assistant coaches and head coaches. This is one of the few staffs I can say, if maybe the only, that I feel like every assistant coach on the staff can be a head coach, and that's a rare thing to have. And you have everyone is different in their own way, and they all bring something great to the table. And the staff has been amazing about actually giving me a voice to actually be like a role model for the younger guys, come early with the younger guys, talk to the younger guys. And during the game, I just sit up there next to the coaches just to talk the game, because if I'm not going to play, like I said, I'm going to try to excel at whatever role I'm given. And maybe I can be a voice to give them something different, or we agree on the same thing. Or I'm learning also for the next step in life coaching. So for me, it's like I'm doing a lot of things, and I'm learning and I'm growing, and they're teaching me, and, we're exchanging information. So to me, it's been great. Like sometimes I lose the game, or we lose the game, I feel like I played. Like I'm more upset, and like I still feel the same pain. So to me, it's all new terrain for me, because I never knew how I would feel with the role of like not really playing, not being in rotation. And it feels the same, sometimes worse. And I just feel miserable, and I have to leave it at the arena as I come home, and I was so close. But, I cheer for my teammates the same way as if I was playing, and I'm involved the same way. And I'm just blessed to be in a great situation.
Thanks, Earl. We appreciate the time, and continued good luck to you. We know you'll be able to accept any situation the coach throws at you. And with no Mo right now, likely to get some minutes once again. So take care, and we'll see you tomorrow night.
Oh, thank you.
All right, Earl Watson, our guest here on Trailblazers Courtside. Great to have him on, and you can tell fans by listening what a great interview is, how well thought out he is, what a great communicator as he talked about that he is, and he will be if he wants to be a coach. And guys like that, you reeled off the Detroit roster. To have a guy like Earl Watson on your bench, around your guys all the time, in their ears during timeouts, before and after practice, those guys are gold in the NBA, and there aren't very many of them. And credit to Neil Olshey for bringing in a guy like Earl Watson, who he knew would accept. And as Earl said, he didn't want to be more than he is. You tell him what he is, he'll be that. And he'll be the best at that, and he'll be a good influence on everybody else.